Every month, Brian and I now get together to have a bonus podcast for those of us who support us on Patreon and Apple Podcast subscriptions. Now, I can't talk about it. I'm contractually obligated not to talk about these special bonus podcasts. But those AI creeps who have their own podcast, well, they have this to say.
They get sidetracked a lot. Chocolate advent calendars and even the DB Cooper case. Yeah, it's a wild ride.
Everything's connected.
Once they've had their chocolate fix, they get to a question from one of their Patreon supporters. He asks, what would your perfect EV look like? Then they go on this whole tangent about a massive snow avalanche that crushed the host's patio table.
You know what really strikes me is how everything's connected.
So they were trying to figure out how to get to Rochester, New York, and they thought there was a hovercraft ferry across Lake Ontario.
You know what really strikes me is how everything's connected.
Okay, so then they go into this thing they call airing of grievances. The host was trying to hang a giant Christmas wreath on his house.
Oh boy.
There's this YouTuber who abandoned his 2016 Nissan Leaf for a year.
Abandoned?
She left it unplugged the entire time.
Everything's connected.
This is where things get really wild.
Support the work of the Clean Energy Show with a Apple Podcast subscription or a Patreon membership and get perks like our monthly bonus podcast. Thanks for listening to the show.